Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme: Celtic odds on for the group stages of the Champions League, Jack and Concalves win their red card appeals, and Lennon laughs off criticism. Yeah, just a few of the talking points. Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin, will be discussing in the company of former Celtic captain Tom Boyd, who joins us as our bookroom guest tonight. Lots to discuss, including the back page headlines. Let's have a look at what was on offer this morning. In the Record, they think it's all over. A double for Sinclair for Celtic in the 5-0 win over Astana. And of course the story there from Jimmy Collerwood, who announced yesterday he had the onset of dementia. So that's the back page of the Daily Record. And again, similar story there, just a little story at the top. Steve McLaren says he still wants to be considered for the Hearts job. And in the Mail, no surprise, Celtic blowing away FC Astana with that performance last night. And that's where we start, because Tom Boyd, this was Celtic at their blistering best.
They were clinical, very clinical last night. I think they took most of their chances that came on offer. But there's a different air about how Celtic play their games. Previously, in years gone by, it was a gung-ho style and try to batter a team for the first 20 minutes. That's all gone now. It's all about battling teams with the ball and possession, and eventually they'll break them down. And I think we've seen that last night. The quality of finishing was superb. A couple of breaks with ricochets into the goal as well. But over the piece, it was an absolutely fabulous performance. And I think, as a headline say there, that's them through. Yeah,
that's first leg done. I don't know at what point, Ruffy, you want to hand over your 20 quid. Do you want to wait till the end of the show, or do you want to wait till next week? I mean, it's entirely up to yourself.
Oh, I think I'll wait, obviously. The time keep it in my
what, on
pocket.
a 6-5 turnaround?
Yeah, no, I was a wee bit anxious about the game after the Rosenborg, the two games against Rosenborg. I was at the Partick Thistle game, as Tom said, bags of possession, controlling the game. But I thought this Astana team were going to be better than what they were last year, and it would have been a wee bit more difficult. But all credit to Brendan Rodgers again. He got his team right. Got the formation right, and obviously got the scoreline right as well. So again, he just seems to have that knack, producing the goods at the right time.
Well, if there were any doubters, and I don't think we were questioning his inclusion of Nir Bitton at centre-half. It's always sometimes a risk when you put someone in there, but the manager said he knows his players, he knows what they can do, and Bitton didn't look out of place, Tom.
Well, just a wee aside to what Alan says there about thinking Astana will get better, Celtic will get better. When Brendan was first in the first few games, he was playing Astana last year, so his philosophy wasn't quite in tune. You look at how it improved throughout the season, domestically unbeaten. We've continued that vein of form in all the games. So it has been a massive improvement. And I think all the players now are buying on board, so much so that the competition for places, you've now got Bitton, as you were saying, who has come in. I think there was a little bit of trepidation for a lot of supporters who thought, is this the right choice? Because young Aya had come in, done ever so well against Kilmarnock, thought he may have been the one who took the place. But then, obviously, it was Bitton, and he has been outstanding in the two games that he's played at centre-back, not put a foot wrong. Yeah,
here's the Celtic goalkeeper, Craig Gordon, on the aforementioned player, Nir Bitton.
Come in as knowing the position. We've worked really hard on whoever it's been in that area to make sure we know what we're doing. So it's a big credit for everybody that's come into that position to know what they're doing and understand the position and how we go about things back there. So yeah, it's just been really good organisation. We've had a good campaign up to now. We've felt confident the whole way through. Now we need to go and finish the job.
Yep, a lot of the players staying cautious on this one. There's still another leg to go on it, Ruffy. But when you looked at the positives of last night, Tom mentioned the competition. There was star performances right across the park. And one person that we'd been talking about prior to the game was Scott Sinclair.
Yeah, I think last year Scott Sinclair set a target. It was fantastic. I didn't think personally he'd lived up to it this year yet, but the target that he'd set last year maybe was a wee bit difficult, but last night proved that he's a quality player, and these kind of players in big occasion nights win you games, and that's what happened last night.
Yep. Here's what a few of the players made of the performance.
Even somebody used to tell me before the game you're going to win 5-0, but didn't tell me the scorers. I don't care who scores the goals as long as we get a decent result. But you know, like I say, it's only half time and we look forward to Tuesday.
As players, we love these nights, and going into today's game, we knew what we had to do, and that's to win the game. And obviously, we won it comfortable, so we've got to go out there now in the second leg, and you know, with sort of a little bit less pressure.
Even at half time, probably didn't see that coming, but it was just the speed of our play. Second half, we wore them down. First half, they had spells of possession we had to defend, but we did that fairly well. We let them play in front of us at times, and we knew we were always going to be dangerous at their end. We got our 2 goals. I think that opened the game up a little bit for us as well, because we had to then try and look for an away goal, which left us the spaces to exploit going the other way and get a few more.
It's amazing how dangerous Celtic are when they have Griffiths in the front line, Tom.
The amazing thing about him last night was that he was at the edge of the box, going to curl onto his left foot, and he actually passed the ball to James Forrest. An unselfish moment. I would mark that down in history as probably the first time he's passed the ball inside the box. It shows you maybe a new level of maturity from Lee, and that when he's mentioned there about he doesn't care who scores the goals, and obviously put James, which was probably ended up in a better position for him. Well, Lee's somebody who's on fire as well, and you know, you've seen the difference and impact that having Lee Griffiths in the team as well. I think against in the previous round we didn't have that option, and he always only come on late in the second half, and you've seen the impact it had. So having a striker, having a main key point, a focal point up there, makes a huge difference, and I think you've seen that again last night. Just the overall performance, the control of the game was fantastic, and obviously the clinical finishing got us the 5 goals.
And as the manager mentioned last night, Ruffy, the other bit of good news is Stuart Armstrong. He will put pen to paper on the deal that was on the table for him.
Yeah, because I think we know that modern day player now with his agent, you know, that they try and get the best deal possible. Sometimes it drags on a wee bit longer than what it should, you know. But I think bottom line was the boy, I think, wanted to play, wanted to stay, wanted to enjoyed every minute of it since he came here. He's got into the Scotland team through the back of playing for Celtic as well, which is another bonus. So I think it would have been a bit difficult for him to leave at this time.
Yep, and of course we're talking about Lee Griffiths. He's absolutely delighted that Armstrong will be staying at Celtic.
We all know what kind of player Stuart is. It's a great boost, and you know, we want to keep our best players here. You know, it's been well documented about the contract situation, but you know, Stuart seems happy here, and you know, we hope the contract gets signed sooner rather than later.
Okay, you know, many a time in the media, you know, we highlight the negatives in some sporting stories, some football matches, some individual performances. We might as well highlight the positive of the supporters last night, Ruffy, because the Green Brigade have come in for a fair bit of criticism. Last night it was a display that caught the eye, but it was very much in a positive sense. This is everything that's good about fans when they concentrate on supporting the team.
Yeah, and I think that's all Celtic want them to do. They want them to get right behind the team. I think anybody sitting in the stand know what they bring to the night, and particularly European nights and things like that. Make it great. You know, when you're sitting in the stand, you're just waiting for the game starting, and if there's something else happening round about and it's positive, you know, it's great. It's a great atmosphere. I think people expect things like that now in European nights.
Okay, I've got to ask you, Tom, Kilmarnock, the early kick-off on Saturday. If you were Brendan Rodgers, would you make drastic changes?
No, I don't think he'll make drastic changes. He'll make 1 or 2, and he may protect Lee Griffiths. Obviously, at this moment in time, with Mr Dembele being out, I think that may be one. But we do need him as well, right enough, you know, to play. We don't probably need him for the return leg, because that's, for me, the game is done and dusted. But you've got that balance at this stage of the season. You need to give players games. You need to get so they're ready. And it's very difficult this moment in time when you want to play. This is an opportunity, I think, against Kilmarnock. The surface as well, I don't know if that will be a factor in terms of the manager deciding who's going to be playing. For that reason, maybe, you know, Lee having a history this season of maybe just wee knocks and aches. So that's why another reason why he might be left out. But yeah, listen, no matter what team he plays out, he played with almost an under-20 team against Kilmarnock. I know it's Celtic Park, but they still were proved too good and too strong for Kilmarnock. And again, whoever they plays this weekend, I'm sure the players out in the park, they need to go and show that they want to play in that team. I would imagine maybe Stuart Armstrong might get him, obviously signed a new contract. He's been unlucky in terms of Oliver and Sham has come in, obviously took his position just now, and he looks an inspirational signing as well. He looks very solid, but it's great that we've got, as I think when the players are saying there about the competition for places now, we want to keep our best players, and obviously Stuart Armstrong was up there last season.
OK, after the break we will switch our attention to matters on the domestic front. Incidentally, if they get through over the 2 legs, Celtic can prepare to bank somewhere in the region of £26.5 million in the Champions League. And other clubs in Scotland will get a £250,000 bonus for Celtic being there. We'll discuss that, and we'll hear from Pedro Caixinha coming up next. How close was that, Ruffy? You were a year out on that one. I thought you would have got that one.
Yeah, I missed the James Bond clue.
I would have got it with that as well. I remember going as a wee kid with my dad.
Going and seeing that?
Going to see that.
Yeah, you guys were so close there. 1973. I'm going to test their knowledge of yesteryear on the quiz coming up again after the next break. But let's concentrate on events domestically now after the Champions League chat. And of course, Rangers. Pedro Caixinha, the Rangers boss, has been chatting today ahead of their match now against Hearts. And of course, the main news is that Ryan Jack, Ruffy, has won his appeal, and so has Isma Goncalves. Both of them will be able to play in the game on Saturday.
Yep, I would love to be the fly in the wall, you know, at these cases. You know, that if I was a referee, I'd be actually saying to myself, you know, what's the point? You know, the evidence that I saw in both instances, I thought both players were guilty. So I'd love to know how they get off and what tone it is you get off. Is it a legal thing, or is it, you know, I'm just bemused. And I'm saying, if I was a referee, I'm writing a report and I'm seeing what I'm seeing. I'm not making it up. It's as I see it. And then I'm going into a room and somebody, whether it's legal or whatever, is going through.
Are you suggesting that he's getting off on a technicality?
Yeah, I'm just saying I'd love to know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not there. I'm not in the room. You know, the evidence I saw was, and Anthony Stokes should have been booked as well, because the two of them heads came together. But the evidence that I saw, it looked as if the boy Jack had moved his head forward. Not a lot, not enough to knock anybody down or anything like that, but he did make a forward movement when I saw it. And I thought it was worth a red card.
Is that forward movement though enough to?
Exactly. I'd love to know. I'd love to know what the
red card.
Tom, is every foul a yellow card?
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was harsh on him to get sent off, and if he was going off, I think you know, the point that Rocky made.
Sir, I've experienced Alan Thompson get sent off at Ibrox for very similar. Though the reaction of Lovencrans at the time, I think, helped in getting Alan Thompson sent off, but there was only a gesturing towards the player. It's not a leg-breaking tackle in any manner. It's maybe an aggressive stance and stuff like that. But maybe that's why.
It'd be interesting to see what it actually says in the rule book. If two people put their heads together, what is that?
Yeah.
Is that behaving in an aggressive manner? Is that, what is it? You know.
I don't think
petulance. That's all it is for me. I know.
Absolutely. I think it's
you can have a wee word. You can have a wee word with the player. I've seen you. You know.
If he's going off, Tom, Anthony Stokes is going off.
Yeah.
Anthony's was rough. I thought, you know, quite aggressive as well when he was doing that. So yeah, I think you could have easily made that case as well. Yeah.
As far as the fallout from that, Pedro Caixinha was talking about that Hibs game, and he has just basically said that none of the players, or indeed his backroom staff, are even thinking about Hibs now.
I don't want to talk more about.
No, I was just going to ask.
We are here to talk about Hearts, and we are focused about Hearts. I tell you already that our players, without us, spoke nothing about on the first day. after the day off. They came here, we didn't spoke about the match, we just analyzed it the day after, and they give a fantastic answer by training hard and hard and hard. So that's the best answer I can get. I don't need to speak about points that I was really clear pointing them on the right moment, on the right place, and on the right time. So let's look forward, let's look for hearts, let's respect the next opponent, let's focus on the next match, and let's do everything to win it.
How big is this game for him?
It's a very, very big game. You know, obviously, if he doesn't win it, I think there'll be a lot of people out there jumping on the bandwagon, saying I told you so. But it's important that he wins it. I personally thought they played particularly well against Hibs, and I do think they've got something to prove at the weekend. But the players really need to show that they have got the bottle to go into a game like this, knowing what's going to happen if they don't win it.
Yeah, over and above that, the manager is well aware the transfer window will be closing soon, but he wants more players in.
Until the deadline, too many things might happen. So we are on the market like everyone, and we hope to get on the right direction. What I can tell you, since what I told since the very beginning, is that everybody in this club knows what we need. Everybody in this club knows what we want, and we are together on it.
Well, the immediate thing that he wants is he wants Jamie Walker and he wants Kenny McLean. I think the Kenny McLean one is a more difficult obstacle to overcome than the Jamie Walker, but Walker's in for Hearts this weekend. Whether he starts or whether he's on the bench, he's there.
That's an interesting one. Obviously getting into the team that you would think we're trying to buy him. Would his head be right? They've left him out for a few games. Maybe he is wanting to just get back in and get him playing. Maybe the Hearts' situation that they do need quality players like Walker is. To be, to go to Ibrox and for him to perform, but there's nothing but positivity anyway coming from Pedro Casinho. Losing to Niederhorn, the progress, Niederhorn away back, now losing to Hibs. There never seems to be a bad week that following a bad result, but they certainly need a lot of positivity coming into this game because the game's only as big as the previous games that were against Motherwell, against Hibs as well, and they've come up short on a couple of occasions. Yeah,
how many players do you think they're short, Ruffy?
Well, any manager will tell you they'll take any quality player that's available. I think if you got Jamie Walker, I think the fans would be happy with that signing. I don't think there'll be 2 or 3 coming in. I think he's got a reasonable enough squad there, but as I said, every manager will take more than they need.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I don't think too many Rangers fans will be listening to the words of Mick McCarthy tonight because he can't believe he managed to get Joe Garner and Martin Wycorn. They're scoring goals for fun for Ipswich Town now.
Yeah, it's a strange one, that one. Sometimes you go to a club and it just doesn't work for you. And Tom will know better than me that there's a lot of players come from big clubs, but when they come to the big clubs like Rangers and Celtic, it's very difficult to perform week in, week out, and I think that's what happened with the players they had. They didn't have the level of performance that's expected when you pull on the jerseys, and some players struggle. But I thought Wycorn would have done a turn. I was always impressed with him up front. I was always coming in for the wide areas. He was always a goal threat. Okay, maybe he never got the goals he should have. The boy Gardner, it just never worked for him. Whether it was a style of play or whatever. But they're both proven goal scorers, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, as far as Hearts are concerned, they've got to come through and build on the result, the win last weekend. John Daly will be keen to put his name forward. Every day I see the bookies change who's the front runner. If it's not Dougie Freedman, Steve McLaren's out, Steve McLaren's back in, and then it was various people, Hartley, Presley. Everybody seems to be in the running for this one at some point. It's like the Grand National now to get the manager's job.
Well, they'll need to give the club a boost. Obviously, I think the knocks of having Ian Castle there, I think the negativity was there just right from the start, and it just continued on a downward spiral. And we've seen that in a couple of performances, certainly at Celtic Park, when we've seen we lost quite, Celtic won that one quite comfortably. They get a good boost against Kilmarnock with a victory there, but they certainly need somebody of a name to come in. They tried the experiment of somebody who was a good coach, alleged very good at talking the game, but I think they need somebody who's been through the experience of playing for Hearts and coming through, but also knowing about the game. There's certainly plenty, as you say, you mentioned quite a few there, I think it'd probably have to be somebody with a Hearts background would certainly give them a good boost.
Yeah, we've all had a stab at it. I mean, I think Peter Houston, Rob Kent agrees with me. Some people, a lot of Hearts fans I speak to would be happy with Paul Hartley.
Well, I think that would be the one for me. I think he's done it. I think, well, obviously losing his job at Dundee, but he's certainly free and available. He can produce, and obviously he had a good track record as a player at Hearts as well. So for me, I think something like Paul Hartley, I think would be an ideal choice.
Do you think they're inheriting a good squad, whoever comes in? I mean, there's Don Cowie's signed a one-year contract extension. He's been a steady Eddie for them, Ruffy. But do you think they're inheriting, one, a good squad, and two, that it needs, you know, major additions?
Yeah, I think it needs additions, but different additions to what they've had. You know, obviously Lafferty, Berra, we know what they can do. Cowie, we know they can do. I know it's difficult going down the foreign route, you know, bringing these kind of players in. Sometimes it takes them a wee while to settle. I think that's what's happened with Hearts. I think if they get more sort of a British-minded players in, you know, who know what it's all about, and that might help them. But again, it depends who comes in, and depends how much money's in the kitty. Depends when they come in. Obviously, if a new manager was come in, he would have his own ideas before the window shuts.
Yeah, and over and above that, Tom, I think it would send a really strong message if they were able to hold on to Walker, albeit they're going to lose money in the January transfer window, or indeed if they hold on to the summery, you know, go for a development fee. But I think it would send a strong message that, you know, they want to try and at least make a go of it instead of selling it to one of your rivals.
Well, it's not dissimilar to the situation where Celtic are, and keeping the hold of Armstrong, keeping the hold of Dembele. You know, there was loads of talk of them leaving, and it would maybe just disrupt the team flow. It all depends on the attitude of Walker at this moment in time. If he comes in and wants to still play football, and his head not twisting and turning, then, you know, he can perform and help, because they do need to start getting on a run. They need to start getting a big confidence. They started it last week with the victory against Kilmarnock. They need to start winning, because they've had a lot of knocks when Ian Cathro's been there as a manager. They need to start getting a little bit of smiles about their faces to enjoy their football. Maybe Jamie Walker could be somebody who does that. Yeah,
just briefly, can they go to Ibrox and win, in your mind, based on
the level of performance just now? I don't think so. We need to come up a little bit, but who's to say what kind of Rangers team would turn up?
Yeah, Ruffy?
Yeah, I have to agree as well. I find it difficult to think they would go there. As I said, I thought Rangers were playing well until they lost up the sending off. So I think Rangers have got something to prove at the weekend.
OK, after the break, I don't want you to leave us, because we're going to hear from the Hibs boss, Neil Lennon, and as ever, he's in blistering form. Here's a quick question. I wonder if you remember the year. So close. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show after that short break, with a little bit of news thrown in for good measure. If you have just joined us, Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. Our bookroom guest is Tom Boyd. 1999, I mean, you were right, Tom. When Henrik Larsson was the top goal scorer, was any one of, what, 7?
Quite possibly, yeah. 6 or 7 seasons, I think, to be up there. Yeah, the other clues, I just didn't have a clue about the other ones. You know, I'm too old now.
Is he the best player you've played with?
Yeah, there's been a few. Obviously longevity helps as well, but just the complete striker, and not just a goal scorer, which he scored plenty, but he was a creator of goals for his teammates, but also worked his socks off as a striker. You know, you usually see a lot of strikers who are prima donnas and sitting up there and only do it when they get the ball, or just be penalty box players. That wasn't Henrik. So much so that he then went on to lift a European Cup as well. Had a huge influence in winning that. And I think another team was Man United played for. So I think he did okay in his career. Loads of players that we had, quality football players, but I think Henrik would be the greatest I've played with.
Yeah, and a man you, me and Ruffy are going to see tonight, Sir Alex Ferguson. Ruffy actually mentions the fact that he's one of the few players who was given a standing ovation by Manchester United players after a game that he played in, just because of his work rate and his attitude. It's a great story.
And you have to say, you know, although we all respected what Henrik did here, we saw what he did week in, week out, you know, to go to a club like Man United and walk into their dressing room, you know, and be respected. You know, it says a lot about what he did in the game, because they had a lot of big names in their team, you know, and I'm sure he would want to be as he was, to go in there and prove himself, because everybody didn't really, you know, think about what he did here in Scotland. Okay, he did it in Europe, but Sir Alex Ferguson obviously saw something in him that quite rightly would help them.
You see the age he took on that, you know, he was certainly going on in his time, but still seen what how it could produce as well when he did it in a few games. But yeah, just he gave everyone a total professional, as he epitomised in terms of his example, both on and off the park.
Yeah. Okay, it's hard to believe, but it's Thursday, and the fallout from Neil Lennon and the Rangers game is still going on. I still think there's another couple of days that we can string it out for, Ruffy, to be perfectly honest with you. But as ever, Neil Lennon is a character, not one to back down. There's a lot of people moaning about his goal celebration after the equaliser for Hibs in the game at Ibrox, which Hibs defeated Rangers by 3-2. Of course, this is Neil Lennon today speaking to the assembled members of the press ahead of Hibs game against Hamilton Accies. They'll be looking for 3 wins out of 3 and a perfect 9 points from those 3 games if they can overcome Accies. With regards to some of the fallout from last week, one of them was a complaint from a Rangers fans group, the 1872 group, but Neil Lennon responded to the complaint they made against him.
It was laughable and insignificant, never heard of them. Looked like it was written by a 15-year-old, so I was aware of it, but I don't need to comment on it.
Okay, so it didn't seem to bother him too much, Ruffy. I mean, there's a fair bit of flack, but he remains defiant on it. And I think a lot of people, managers especially, have come out and backed him and said, listen, part and parcel of the game, if you're going to give it out, you better be prepared to take it back.
Yeah, I think basically from a football point of view, yes, that is the case. The people in the stand, doesn't matter what club you're at, if you're going to throw it out there, you know, and somebody retaliates, and you've just got to accept it. You know, you can be upset about it, you know, but to say it was going to cause a riot and it was going to cause violence and that, and I've said this already, I mean, what kind of people are we talking about here? You know, it's football, you know, it's a bit of banter, you know, just take it and get on with it. The Rangers managers come out and said it's gone, let's move on. But I just think it's a certain individual who just want to make a meal of it.
Yeah, of course, I think even Neil Lennon was surprised about the fallout from this one.
The fallout's not my fault. The fallout is driven by yourselves, the media. I gave an answer to a question on Saturday after the press conference and said I celebrated a goal and that should be the end of it. Obviously it wasn't, you know, and people were saying there was complaints made to the police about me, but I'm sure there were various other complaints made to the police about other things going on in the stadium, but that wasn't reported.
Yep, he does have a point with regards to other complaints that were undoubtedly made, but at the end of the day, the story gathered actually started to grow arms and legs because, quite simply, fans were apparently, you know, outraged at his gestures.
Yeah, it's hypocritical of the supporters to be able to sing and give a manager abuse for 90 minutes in the game, and he turns around because his team has scored and cups his ears to hear, well, I can't hear you now, and then there's an outrage. Just the hypocrisy is unbelievable. So yeah, I think quite rightly all the managers are certainly fully supportive of Neil. All managers have probably experienced it, maybe not, certainly nowhere near experienced probably what Neil has to deal with in this country since he's came here. Yeah, I think Neil handled it in the correct manner, and I think we should just move on from there.
Yeah, I think the more pertinent point is that all of this has in some way deflected away from the performance of his side and the way they've started the season, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think in light, obviously, we know Rangers went down to 10 men and it made it a wee bit easier for them. But I think the football they were playing before that, they had a wee bit of arrogance about them. They had a lot of experience in the side. They weren't fazed by going there, and I think that's what Neil will take out of it. At the end, they took their chances. I mean, a lot of managers come in after games when they don't beat somebody with 10 men and say, look, so hard to beat somebody with 10 men. So all credit to them. They did beat the team with 10 men. So that's what he'll take out of the game.
Yeah, and of course he wants to try and strengthen Hibernian as well. And he was clear that I think he wants more attacking options, Tom. So that gives you an indication of how strongly he feels he can make a real push this season.
Well, he certainly's got good attacking options so far. By Murray's certainly hell on fire by his performances, and I think the team are certainly showing a lot of character. Obviously Neil had that when he was a player, because that's twice now they've been behind in league games and come back to win both, which is saying a lot for the players, and probably just coming off the last year. I think they get good plaudits for the way they played against the teams that were above them in the division in the cup games last year, and I think they're continuing that. And I think a lot of people were questioning whether Neil was saying the right thing about saying whether they think that Hibs would be finishing, or he thought maybe Hibs would be finishing second. I tell you what, in the current form and the way we've seen how they can perform, they'll certainly be giving it a good go.
Yeah, and he's been linked with a player from Manchester City, Brandon Barker.
Well, he's a player I've admired for a long, long time. When I was managing Bolton, I went to see him on a couple of occasions and was really impressed with what I saw. With Martin being out for however length of time it is, Brandon, he may need a bit of time to get up to speed because he's not played any football of late, but I think he's a very good, talented young footballer. Obviously he's been well coached, and he's been on loan at Rotherham and then last season in Holland. But he's a very exciting player, and one that I'm delighted when his name was brought to me by my recruitment team. I had no hesitation saying, can we get this one done?
Well, Martin Boyle out, this could be an exciting player to add to the squad.
Yeah, I think we just have to look about the Man City young players. You know, they're getting farmed out everywhere. You know, France, Italy, Spain. You know, that just shows you the quality of them. Celtic have obviously saw the quality that the players they've had for Man City, to why not tap into it? And obviously, if he comes up here and he is a very, very good player, it can rub off on the rest of the players.
Now, I'm not a big fan on teams. We talked about it last night. I'm not a big fan, Tom, of somebody just buying up players and they're all going out on loan. But the youngsters I am a fan of, because that, you know, if they can get their first team, it's just those big players that they buy on bulk, and then, you know, suddenly you've got 30 Chelsea players on loan everywhere. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's absurd, isn't it? That they just buy and snap up. We've seen it. We've experienced it in Celtic as well. Snap up a couple of youngsters, and there's certain interest as well. But what these youngsters need is games. That's a problem. And obviously, if they're coming out, Man City's probably along the same boat now. They've got quite a lot of youngsters. We've seen that. We've seen Patrick Roberts, Oliver Nsham now, who looks apart. But to be fair, we have paid for him. But they needed to go and get experience and get games. But it's got to be in the right frame of mind, with the right management, the right style of football, for these guys to improve from where they are. And I think certainly the way Neil's got his team playing just now, and the feel-good factor that they've got going just now, I think it's the right place to go.
It just shows you the progress made under Neil Lennon. I'm looking at this game and I'm thinking Hamilton Accies, you know, I don't expect them to get anything from this one, Ruffy.
Yeah, we said that last week as well. You know, Hamilton are a team you have to really keep your eye on. You know, they do have bad games, but when they have the good games, you know, they're a fiery bunch of guys, you know, who get in about you, you know, make it difficult for you. Their main problem is scoring goals, but that got sorted out last week. It remains to be seen if they come up against a better side whether they can do that, but I think it'll be quite a good game.
Okay, coming up after the break, we're going to talk more about the Premiership fixtures over the weekend. We'll delve into the Championship, League 1 and League 2, and we'll also give you that full Iron Brew draw which was made earlier this afternoon. Okay, these two guys have been struggling with the quiz. It's just one more now, and you know, whoever gets this right wins the competition. How have you been faring in it? Have a look at this quick question and see if you can tell us the answers coming up after the break. I can tell you right now, Ruffy has the biggest smile on his face. To be fair, if you take your daughter to a Champions League game at the Bernabeu for her 18th birthday, it'll be a disgrace if you can't remember that game.
Yeah, well, that was a good start for me. Yeah, it was Lucy's birthday, and she wanted to go to the Champions League. I don't think the final, I think she was hoping it was Man United, but it wasn't. But we went along there that day, and it was a fantastic day, and that's how I obviously got the answer to that.
Yeah, lucky you got good tickets as well, Ruffy.
Yes, the tickets were great. Rather expensive at the time, but I just had to take them. I have to thank the late David Taylor for getting me tickets for that game, but I was quite astounded when they were €400 each.
the blood draining from your face. Listen, it's never to be forgotten. I mean, I still look back at the Champions League final at Hampden in 2002. These games, getting to them, are just phenomenal. It's an unbelievable occasion.
Well, it's an amazing achievement to be able to do that, but not that they're getting boring. It seems to be the same teams getting there quite often now. Real Madrid, I've been there so many times in recent years, Barcelona's and teams like that.
It's getting a bit predictable, isn't it?
Yeah, no, still great to watch it enough, but you know, that was the idea of trying to, you know, bring in the Champions League, is it, trying to spread it a little bit, but it is becoming a little bit predictable.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's up to Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, the Champions League final will only be Bayern Munich straight in. They don't play any group stages at all. They're in the final against one other team. Just a personal opinion. Let's switch from Hibs and Neil Lennon's comments to Motherwell, because of course they had 3 red cards and one of them successful. Charles Dunn's appeal against the Red, he's managed to win that. Albeit he still picks up a ban which will rule him out of a League Cup match. But over and above that, Trevor Carson and Carol McHugh didn't win their appeals, Ruffy.
Yeah, again, if I put my referee's hat on, I'm quite happy with that one. You know, I think we all saw the goalkeeper was out of the box. I'd love, again, to know what that appeal was about. You know, what evidence did they produce at that one to think he was going to get off with it. I think the boy McHugh just had 2 very rash challenges and picked up the cards accordingly.
Yep, so he has to face up to that. It's a Motherwell team at home to Ross County. We found it very difficult. You know, when you're looking, you're waiting for the window to close, Tom. You're looking, you're thinking, who's going down? We've all picked Hamilton Accies on the card and on this programme. I've kind of picked Ross County to be in the playoff position.
You can make a case for quite a few teams. I think you need to wait to see. And I know that you can't get that, and you try and do it before the season kicks off. But I think you wait and see. You'll generally get a time. I'm thinking Kilmarnock will be in and around there if Fleetwood McCulloch doesn't get his act together with the players and get them starting to play. Because the evidence of what I've seen at Celtic Park against young kids, there wasn't much to go on. They've obviously lost a home game to Hearts, who seem to be struggling at this moment in time as well. So that doesn't look too good. But Ross County, yeah, they're always there and thereabouts, aren't they? John McIntyre's done a great job with them. So I think they'll be okay.
Yep, you sticking with him on that. I mean, it's the one thing that is sticking in the back of my head, just picking up on what you said there, is Ruffy and I are well aware Roy McGregor does back his manager in a January transfer window if things are looking a little shaky. As far as Jim McIntyre's concerned, he's just hoping they can head to Lanarkshire and put the pain of that defeat to Aberdeen behind them.
We want to bounce back for the defeat. There was a lot of things we've done well against Aberdeen. You know, if we could be a wee bit more clinical when we get into the final third, then you know that's what we've tried to improve upon this week, and hopefully we can do that on Saturday.
Well, just picking up on a point which I hope doesn't become a recurring theme for Jim, but you know, on many an occasion when boys hit the back of the net, you suddenly get 3 points when you thought you were maybe getting 1, or you know, suddenly salvaged a point. Those goal scorers become all too apparent, Ruffy.
Yeah, particularly him. And I think we saw the goals he scored last year, and I'm sure Jim will be very knowledgeable of that as well. So he'll be looking at every avenue he can get, you know, to get that kind of goal scorer. But Curran scored at the weekend. I don't know if Curran needed Boyce or vice versa, but certainly if he continues to score goals, that'll be a bonus for him.
Yep, okay. The Iron Brew second round draw was made earlier today. Here's a look at the ties for the second round, and of course there's a few names from other countries now. Sligo Rovers against Falkirk. Crusaders taking on Motherwell's under-20s as well. Linfield come into the equation as well. We'll see David Healy's side perform on these shores once more. And as ever with these ties, I like the fact that we're getting clubs from other countries. I hope it's a sign of things to come, Ruffy. Here's the second batch of ties from the draw earlier this afternoon. I don't know about you, but I like that extended feel. You know, sooner or later, when you get more and more of this, it can lend itself maybe to a bigger British Cup, which I would love to see.
Mm-hmm. No, I think the clubs that are in that tournament will enjoy every minute of it. I think the players would like to test themselves against other players from other countries. And like any tournament, you know, the nearer it gets to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, you want to be in it. And at the end of it, you want to win a trophy.
I think you're trying to find something more for the fans to go and watch to make it a wee bit more entertaining, rather than possibly, as we're talking about the Champions League, become a little bit predictable. To bring in these fresh faces of fresh clubs, I think it's a great idea, and I think it certainly adds to it, you know, the experience of this cup. So yeah, I'm all for this.
Yeah, absolutely, and of course it gives some of the players the chance to play against players that they would not be playing under normal circumstances. Of course, we talked about the Premiership, the Iron Brew Cup. We're going to talk about Dundee United because it's been a good start to the Championship season for them. They are the favourites to win the division, and Ray McKinnon has mentioned that he's more than happy with the squad that he's assembled this season.
Yeah, I think it's went well. It's another transitional year for us. We've had to, again, change the squad around. I think we've made 11 signings. We've brought the age of the squad right down. The squad's now in a position where it can grow together. You know, we can grow over the next year or so. But that doesn't take us away from the fact that we've got to try and be successful this year. And so it's not been easy, but I think the guys have gelled really well. I think the 11 players that come in have settled into the club really quickly. I think they're good players. I think we've signed good players, good technical players, hungry players. And, you know, considering that there's still quite a few of them still trying to get right up to the match fitness, I always said I think the end of August we'll have everybody really fit and strong. I think considering that, I think we've had a really good start to the season.
I know Ray will want to compete in every competition that Dundee United go into. They've got Alloa in the Iron Brew Cup. The disappointment was going out of the League Cup to Dundee, but in some ways I think, you know, fewer fixtures suddenly will give them more of a chance to focus on the ultimate goal, which is just quite simply get back out of the Championship.
Yeah, I think that's where the pressure will be. You know, I thought he might have struggled a wee bit losing the boy Andrew and losing obviously the boy Murray to Hibs, who would be two good players for him. But yeah, he's brought in some quality there with McDonald and another couple. But I think with them, when it comes to their crunch, you know, it depends whether they can handle the pressures of being favourites to get promoted, and I think that will determine whether they go up or not.
Okay, a couple of things to get your thoughts on, lads, before we say farewell tonight. Tom, I'm looking at the Barcelona and the highs of so many games that we witnessed with that wonderful trident, as they were called, Suarez, Neymar and Messi. And for me, two of my favourite players were Xavi and Iniesta, but suddenly the wheels seem to have come off. Real Madrid win the Super Cup over two legs, and Gerard Piqué says he reckons that they're in a difficult place at the moment.
But it happens to teams, doesn't it? There's cycles of teams of these kind of quality. You can't go out and keep buying the best players because there's so many teams want to do that. There's so much money in the English League. So all these things are on a constant cycle. At this moment in time, the onus of power seems to be going towards Real Madrid once again. But, you know, that was one of the best ever teams that we've witnessed and we watched, you know, with all those players that were in it. But not only that, it was the football that they produced. It was some stunning football, and they'll be remembered very fondly for what they all gave to the game. But as you say, it's just a changing cycle. They'll just need to regroup, bring in other young ones that they've brought in before, as well as they can afford some of the best players in the world to try and bolster that. But yeah, it was they were certainly a joy to watch.
Yeah, greatest club side ever.
They're up there, not far off it. You know, you can argue there's so many. You go down the years, AC Milans of the bygone era. Where, you know, the three Dutch players they were stunning. You know, so not far off. I would say at their peak, yeah, Barcelona would probably be the greatest.
Ruffy?
Yeah, I think it depends how far back you want to go. I mean, you could go really far back.
Well, let's not go far back.
Well,
We're not a boy. We haven't
got to 67. You know, we could talk to Celtic. Celtic 67.
You could go there. You could go Real Madrid, the 7-3.
Yeah.
You know, you could. I mean, their quality sides all the way through. I mean, Tommy's saying some young boys coming through. I'd love to see who they are, you know, when they're coming through, because they've relied on a lot of experience for a long time. So if you're a young player like that, maybe we should be tapping into their youth rather than man's size.
Yeah, okay, I'll leave everybody with that thought then. Great to have Tom Boyd in the studios here. Hopefully you've enjoyed him as a guest, and hopefully we'll see Tom back in the future as we talk more about Champions League, where Celtic look destined to be heading. From Ruffy and myself, join us tomorrow on the show, because Hugh McDonald will be our guest. Good night.